one thing I like to tell people is you always start, the answer is always no to start with, right? Because you haven't begun the discussion. So you're at no, you're at nowhere. And so if you're going to ask, you're not going to be worse off than when you started, right? If you try something, if you attempt something, you're not going to be worse off than when you started. You can only move forward.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I'm bringing you a Take the Doughnut interview with Deborah Bonito. And let me tell you a little bit about her. So Deborah is from Anchorage, Alaska, and is the co-owner of the Kobuk Coffee Company and president of the Sourdough Mercantile, which operates 4 shop spaces at Ted Stevens International Airport, including AK&CO Gourmet Market, the Sourdough Mercantile, Moosetique, and Mosquito Books. And I'll give you an opportunity to correct any mispronunciations I might have had on any of those things as we go. But welcome to your interview, Deborah.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm glad to be here. I love supporting women endeavors. And so I was excited to support your podcast. And of course, I love telling my story. So hoping that it might inspire some other people.
I'm sure it will. I can't wait to hear it. And before we get into it, first we have to ask the question we all need to know the answer to. What is your favorite donut?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a tough call. It used to be the apple fritter, but I think I have moved on to the cinnamon cake donut.
Ooh, it's changing over time.
Yes.
Maybe that's with seasons of your life or just changing tastes. Who's to say?
That's right. I just like I find the kind of my brother makes a great donut. He trained our current donut makers how to make theirs, but nobody can quite make the cinnamon cake donut my brother made. Just got a kind of a crisp, thin outer shell with the cinnamon sugar. And I think maybe the cinnamon sugar reminds me of cinnamon toast that my mom used to make, toast and tea sometimes on the weekends for us. But I find it very satisfying.
Yum. Yum to all of the things that you just said. Well, I gave a little bit of information on your background to start us off, but tell us more about yourself. What should we know about you?
Okay, well, of course, I'm a business owner. I'm a mother. I have one son who is studying business in his senior year in college. And I feel like he takes it all so seriously. And it's been fun because he's challenged me and kind of helped me grow and kind of take on some new challenges as I get a little older here. So that's fun. I'm married. I live in Anchorage. I've been in Alaska since I was 12 years old. Our father was in the military. That's what brought us to Alaska. Some of us kids went away to college, came running back. It's just a beautiful place. And I feel like it's been a land of opportunity for me. And yeah, I started small and kind of worked my way up, and I kind of forget that it's kind of a cool success story, and I forget that sometimes as I'm plodding away on the day to day. But it's a good story, and I think can be inspirational because I started so small and have grown to such a nice spot where I'm pretty comfortable.
You're in the right place. We're here to talk about the journey of it all, the success of it all, and actually, the theme of this talk, Take the Doughnut, is my version of saying carpe diem. So for those who aren't familiar with the origin story, I'll link the video for that here. But basically, I once left a donut on a table in college, and it became an object lesson for what it looks like to actually leave opportunity on the table. So for me, I say take the donut as a reminder not to do that again, and to go after what I want. So this conversation is all about going after what you want and going after goals. And you sound like the perfect person to talk to about that. So let's have that conversation. How are you with going after goals? What is that process like for you?
So let me backtrack one little bit. So I was a literature major and a political science major. So what was I going to do with that, right? It was either go to law school or become an entrepreneur. And so what I tell people is, you know what, this is America. If you can read and write well, you can do anything with whatever your background is, whatever your education is. So for me, I wanted to find a way to make my life in Anchorage. I had fallen in love, and I had my job that I had at the time was I was a legislative aide. Our state capital, oddly enough, Anchorage is the biggest population center of the state, but our state capital is 600 miles away in Juneau, Alaska, in Southeast Alaska. So to be there for 5 months out of the year when the rest of your life is up here is kind of difficult because our legislative session meets from January to May. So, I mean, I was skimming the paper looking for opportunities, things that I could do in town. And I had started my small business in the summers selling smoked salmon from a vending cart in downtown Anchorage, because the way the legislative jobs worked is you job shared. You know, you had your job for 5 months and you were on your own for the rest of the year. So I had fish on the brain. I'd been working on salmon issues down in the state legislature in Alaska. And when I came back home, I built a vending cart out of a kitchen sink cabinet from Spinard Builder Supply. and I was doing that in the summers. I decided, gosh, I want to do something year round, blah, blah, blah. There was a classified ad where WH Smith, this huge multinational corporation, was looking for a woman or minority owned business partner to go in to respond to an RFP at the airport for some concessions. And I thought, why? I thought, well, I can't. First, I thought, I can't do that. WH Smith's this big company. What are they going to want with me? And then I thought, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'll just respond and say, hey, I've got this business and I'd like to expand it. So long story short, because I made the decision to just reply to that ad, this great world, this great opportunity opened up to me to get my foot in the door at the airport and to be able to build on that. So, I guess my initial response to your question, like, how do I approach whether or not to take challenges is, one thing I like to tell people is you always start, the answer is always no to start with, right? Because you haven't begun the discussion. So you're at no, you're at nowhere. And so if you're going to ask, you're not going to be worse off than when you started, right? If you try something, if you attempt something, you're not going to be worse off than when you started. You can only move forward. So if there's an opportunity on the table, even if you're not sure if you're going to take it, fulfill it completely, get your foot in the door and see what that's going to lead to, and then decide if you're going to pursue it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I say. You start at no, so you can only go forward. So why not give it a shot?
I like that. I think that reframes it for people as well, because if you're thinking, oh, but what could I lose? It's like, no, you're already not doing the thing. So what can you gain by taking any kind of action?
Right.
It makes it more of a net positive, where people might be worried about the negative. So what a beautiful way of saying that. Well, obviously you are totally willing to go after it, to take initiative, but how do you stay motivated, especially if you're doing something that's going to take a lot of effort over time, as there are a lot of things that you've done that require that. So what keeps you motivated throughout?
I think so now I've been at this for 30 years. And sometimes I think, oh, I'm done with retail. I don't want to do this anymore. But what keeps me motivated then is, I pride myself because this is the Anchorage airport. It's a destination airport. It's a great market for a lot of small business owners in Alaska. So if an Alaskan business owner says to me, hey, would you buy some of this to sell at your shop? I never say no. Even if I think, oh gosh, that looks like something my grandmother would make, I say, I'll give it a shot. I'll try 6. And if they sell, I'll reorder. So what motivates me is actually helping a lot. I have over 100 local vendors. And by local, I mean state vendors from Southeast Alaska, to Barrow. The latest one I was at and I love what keeps me motivated is finding new Alaska products, and helping people who maybe never thought that they'd get into wholesale, right? Carry their products. I do well because it's some people, tourists crave authentic Alaskan made products. And then I'm helping launch this new business, right? So I'm always on the lookout. This summer I went to our botanical gardens. They had a fundraiser. It was a wine tasting. One of the young women who was serving the wine had these great earrings on. And I said, gosh, I love your earrings. And she said, oh, my friend makes them. And I said, your Alaskan friend? And she said, yes. And so I gave her my card. I said, hey, does she ever wholesale? Tell her to give me a call. I've got some shops. Long story short, Jennifer got a hold of me, her friend. I set up a meeting with her and one of my buyers for my Moustique boutique, which is a kind of a women's accessories boutique, super fun. And so now Jennifer, who has this amazing eye, I don't know if you can see these, but
Oh,
she's got this really architectural design style. And she was like so excited. She brought them to meet with us. Paul picked out about 20 different styles, and he said, we'll just start with 4 each. And she was like, oh my gosh, 80 earrings just from one sitting. She was so excited. So she produced them, she got them to us, she just delivered them yesterday. That's why I have them. And that's the kind of thing that keeps me motivated. Just she was thrilled. I'm sure it's going to be a great product. We're going to make money off of it. So that makes us happy. But it's just really exciting to help launch people, especially young women, in their business.
oh, that's so wonderful. I love that mission. What challenges you? So once you get going, is there a particular brand of challenge that just keeps coming up over and over again?
Yes, I mean, I hate to sound like the old lady who complains about the new generation, but employees can be the most challenging. Trying to find what motivates employees, trying to help them be realistic. You say you want to work full time, but it doesn't really seem like you want to work full time, or you say you can work, night shifts and some morning shifts. I think how that's going to impact your schedule. So dealing with, I mean, I have 5 shops, so there's none of this people can work from home stuff. They have to be there. They have to show up for their shift. And I know it might seem like a little thing, but that is kind of a constant source of challenge for all my shops, is finding people, motivating them to be there. Having said that, this year I celebrated 3 employees that have been with me for 20 years. My VP out there, my operations manager, she's been with me all 30 years. I try to find a way to keep people motivated, try to give positive impact, positive feedback, some training opportunities, and of course bonuses, based on performance. But that's the big challenge is, there's so much I want to do, but then sometimes I got to drop everything and go and pull shots behind the espresso bar because 2 people didn't show up.
Yeah.
So,
oh my goodness.
that can be very frustrating.
Oh, it's a challenge, right? When you have to rely on other people. People are part of your business. So tricky.
Yeah.
Well, looking back historically, and you can answer this personally or professionally, what would you say is the biggest donut you've ever taken?
Well, after I had my vending cart and after I became a DBE partner with WH Smith, I was a sub-concessionaire with them for 7 years. And then it was time for another RFP to go out for the airport. And WH Smith and the airport this time split the concession in half. And WH Smith was only interested in the 5 newsstand, the sundries and newsstands that you see. Right now, Hudson News has it in Anchorage and all over. It's those kind of stands. But they also wanted a specialty Alaska gift and book operation. And remember, I said I was a literature major. So really, the bookstore, which makes the least amount of money, is my passion. but WH Smith was not going to pursue that RFP. And I said, look, even though you're listing me as your DBE partner, responding to your part of the newsstands, would I be breaking any contracts if I applied for the other contract on my own? And they kind of chuckled and said, no, by all means, do it. Well, I did it. And I knew that that would mean that I would have to oversee the tenant improvements of 4 brand new spaces at the airport, go and I had already paid back my small business loan, but now go for a several $100,000 loan. And I was really, torn. I had just had my son. My husband was busy in another endeavor that was keeping him super busy, and I wasn't really sure I could do it. But I thought, I'm going to put this together. I'm going to give it my all. I don't have to sign it if I win it, and I probably won't win it because I'm a newbie, right? But I did win it. And I remember the phone call I got from the airport director. It was Christmas Eve. And he said, Merry Christmas. I have to tell you, anyway. So that was a big donut to bite off. And I was really terrified. Then I had to go find banking, but I did it. And I just was like, I just did it with confidence. And it just has been so successful for me. But I almost passed up that opportunity. And then I'm not sure where I would have been, because in addition to me winning that one, WH Smith, my partner, they lost the other bid to Hudson News. So I would have been completely out. I would have been back to my vending cart on 4th Avenue.
Wow. What a journey.
Yeah.
Well, with all of that in your past, like, what are you working on now? Are there any donuts that you're trying to take now?
You know about the Kobuk, the actual partial donut shop downtown that my sister manages. Once I was established in my airport shop, I went to my brother and sister because I had this opportunity at Kobuk. We bought that store together. So Nina and I are trying to figure out what our next, kind of what our exit strategy is at the Kobuk. And it's an old historic building. Everybody loves it. It's known as the holiday shop in Anchorage. And so we're trying to figure out what we can do to preserve it, maybe dabble in it a little bit, but really kind of move it on to other ownership. So that is a big deal. Personally, I've got my sourdough mercantile operation, it moves pretty steadily along. I can step back quite a bit. And I've always been active in the community. And my latest position is I've just become the board chair of a housing agency. And we provide workforce housing. We have 1,000 units across the city, but we have not increased that portfolio. The agency hasn't increased the size of that portfolio in over 20 years. And so the donut that I really am chomping to bite is I want us to collaborate with some other nonprofits across the city and create some more workforce housing, because like every community in America, Anchorage has a housing shortage. And the people, especially people in the sector that I represent, in tourism and the service sector, are having a hard time finding places to rent, let alone buy. So that's my next big challenge. And same thing, I alternate between, it's not really my field. Can I really do this? Can I really lead this charge? And thinking, well, everybody who does it started somewhere, so we can do this.
Mm.
That's my biggest, what I want to do next.
Well, who knows? Maybe somebody who's listening to this is in a position to help. So
Yeah.
let's see where this goes. But speaking of that, there could be people listening who are thinking of taking their own donut and could use advice from you. So let's sprinkle some encouragement, Deborah. What would you say to those people who want to take a donut of their own?
Yeah, I would say never say never. Don't think that you can't do it just because you haven't in the past. At the same time, take calculated risks, right? When I was starting with my business, I thought, okay, what can I afford to lose if this all goes sour? So I think that's something people should keep in mind. But also, I think one big thing is that there's a lot of people like you and me out there who are willing to help and give advice. I went to the Small Business Development Center when I was going for my first loan. Super amazing agency. When I went to the banker with the documents all prepared, they helped me put it all together. They said, you're going to need this, you're going to need this. This is how you do a profit and loss. Super helpful. So use the tools that are out there. Right now, the Small Business Administration, I think because they ramped up so much during the COVID response, giving out the PPP loans and all that, I think that they have a ton of resources and they're still really anxious to help. I think there's a huge DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion philosophy out in the workforce, from boardrooms to government now. So for women-owned business and minority-owned businesses, I think that means there's a lot of resources out there. So number one, learn what the resources are. Go to your Chamber of Commerce. If you're in a specific sector, like Nina and I, my sister and I, our businesses, we're members of the Visit Anchorage, which is the local tourism trade group. So find your trade group and look at what they have to offer. But mainly, like I said, don't feel like you don't have the skills or the smarts to do something that you see somebody else doing, because they're people too, So calculated risks, use your resources, and just open your eyes because there's a ton of opportunity.
Well said. Well said. A lot of encouraging and also practical information that you shared there. So where can we find you? I know you've got a lot of businesses and a lot of things to shout out, but what links should I include in the description?
Well, of course, kobukcoffee.com, because the holidays are coming and we have amazing gift boxes that you can order online, and just a great variety of really well-priced tea and coffee. My sister and I marvel when we go to some stores at the price that they charge for their tea. So those prices may be going up after the year, but lots of good stuff there. And then, oh, another donut that I'm working on right now is loveditinalasca.com. That's my airport website that I kind of put on hold last year because I just was swamped, and I'm working on that currently, and that's going to be reopened by the middle of October. So loveditinalasca.com, and I'll feature lots of great items, food items, candy items, jewelry items, bath products that are Alaska made. And then everybody who buys from there can help support all those local mom and pops and young people's businesses.
Wonderful. Well, everybody be sure to check out those resources. And if you liked watching this video, make sure to like and subscribe so that you can check out other Take the Doughnut interviews that are still to come. In the meantime, though, Deborah, thank you so much for joining in, for chatting about Taking the Doughnut, and for sharing your thoughts.
Oh, my pleasure. It was really fun. Again, I was a little nervous about it, but time went pretty quickly. So thank you, Melissa. It was lovely. And I think this is a great thing that you do.
It's so important to hear people's stories. And I mean, you have an amazing one. So like, what a model to follow for those who are interested in basically building an empire.
Wouldn't call it an empire, but
I'm calling it an empire. Well, okay, everybody, you know what to do. Get inspiration, get donuts. Bye.
Bye-bye.